Welcome to the Lha Bab Düchen special Global Sangha Practice Day with the Taramandala International Buddhist Community. Thank you for being here today. I'm Drimé, and it's my honor and pleasure to offer support to you all. We gather today for a unique occasion. Lha Bab Düchen honors the day the Buddha descended from the God realm of 33, where he spent several months teaching Dharma to his mother. The Buddha's return was a time of great rejoicing by his disciples and is one of the 4 main Tibetan Buddhist holy days. It's a traditional day for making offerings, prayers, and practicing virtue, where all merit is said to be multiplied 100 million times. Today's special gathering will be led by Dorje Lopön Chandra Easton. Lopon Chandra is a teacher, author, and translator of Tibetan Buddhism. She is the lead senior teacher at Taramandala Retreat Center, founded by Lama Tsultrim Allione. She serves on the Taramandala Board of Trustees, the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Council, develops programs and curricula for Taramandala, as well as teaches nationally and internationally. I welcome everyone gathered here today, whether in the temple, at the Taramandala Retreat Center, members of our staff and guests, all leaders of the Taramandala Global Sanghas and groups who continue to support Lama Tsultrim's lineage and meet regularly to practice. And finally, all of you who make Taramandala your Dharma home along your path. For those of you who are joining our community today for the first time, we extend our warmest welcome to you as well. While we may not see you at the moment, we do feel your presence. So if you can, please take the opportunity to say hello in the chat to the entire community who is with us right now and share where you are connecting from. Let's truly embrace the fact that we are here together today. Thank you for offering butter lamps for this occasion. The names provided by you will be read while we all recite the Shakyamuni Buddha mantra. It's now my honor to welcome Dorje Lopön Chandra Easton. Lopön Chandra, we would like to request that you turn the wheel of the profound Dharma for the benefit of all sentient beings. Thank you.
Oh, Drimé. Thank you, Drimé La. Thank you, Bodhi, for helping, and to all of the Taramandala community for your practice. I imagine being there with you in the temple with the butter lamps all around, with the Buddhas on the shrine and the Dadas surrounding you, and I long for home. It's been too long. But it's good to know that you are there also practicing and celebrating this very powerful day. And then for all of you all around the world, here we are together in our web of the Global Sangha. We're not separate ultimately. So it's always good to be reminded about that. Let's go ahead and begin with a Bodhicitta personal time for you to close your eyes and take some deep breaths and feel why it is that you're here today, what you would like to cultivate and bring forth like a crystal treasure deep within you, coming forth and illuminated by the sunlight. This Bodhicitta prayer, the spirit of awakening for the benefit of all beings. If you wish to take your hands in the prayer of the single-pointed intention, the 2 middle fingers straight, the rest of the fingers folded, the thumbs parallel. This symbolizes our single-pointed aspiration and intention to be of benefit in the world in some way. And if you haven't already, make this prayer of Bodhicitta even more personal and powerful by really articulating it in your own words, internally or out loud. What is working through you right now? What would you like to cultivate, to give birth to on this Buddhist Mother's Day? We also take this moment to give thanks to the lineage, our ancestors, both spiritual ancestors and familial, family line. Giving thanks and gratitude to our parents who gave us life, to our teachers who gave us Dharma, to our friends and Sangha who support us, and of course to Buddha Shakyamuni for turning the wheel of the Dharma in this time for all of us to benefit. And also acknowledging the land upon which you sit or stand or lie, you live, the water, the air, the earth, the elements that nourish you, and the beings, the people who have come before you. I acknowledge I'm on Lizjan Ohlone land, Native American people who lived and continue to live here before Europeans moved in. Acknowledging that, remembering that, giving voice to it, wherever you are around the world. Just giving thanks to those who came before and situating yourself in your mandala and not forgetting the gifts of the earth. Thank you. So greetings from the other name of where I'm from, which is Berkeley, California, aka Berserkly. Yes, I'm in Northern Cal, and I send out my heartfelt warmth and greetings to all of you, no matter where you are around the world. Someday we'll be together in different places. But here we are together to celebrate this very important day. It's a day that people are calling more and more now Buddhist Mother's Day, which is interesting because in the news when I woke up this morning, I heard that the 8th billionth person has been born today. And in the news article that was published that I listened to on the Audible news that I listen to every morning, it said that that person was most likely born in India, because India is giving, the birth rates of India are quite quick recently. Many, 24,000 people were born in the last, I don't know how long, maybe a few days. So they're birthing at a fast rate. So the researchers estimated that it's probably India where the 8th billionth person will be born today. And that made me think of the Buddha, and his mother, Mahamaya, who birthed him. And maybe this 8th billionth person today will be a Buddha, right? Or maybe not. But in any case, we all have the Buddha nature and celebrating life. Of course, we can go off on the tangent around population growth and are there too many people in the world? But that's not what this is about. Today, we're celebrating life, the life of the Buddha, but really more importantly, shining light and gratitude for the life of his mother, Mahamaya. Mahamaya. So I'll share some stories about her and what this particular day symbolizes as we move through the hour we have together. My idea for today is to talk for about 20 more minutes, and then we'll do Buddha Shakyamuni's mantra, which I'll teach you. And Tara Mandala's created a wonderful slide where they'll show you the mantra. You can read it and learn it and memorize it. And we'll chant for one whole mala, which, may take 15 or so minutes, maybe more. I haven't timed it. Maybe it'll take a half hour. So that'll bring us towards the end of our hour. And they say that on this day, it's a very powerful day to do practice, that our merit or our demerit, by the way, so keep that in mind, multiplies millions of times when we practice on this special day of the Tibetan calendar for Lha Bab Düchen. Lha Bab Düchen. Lha means gods. Bab means to descend or to fall. Düchen means holy day or holy time. And so Today is the Lha Bab Düchen, is this holy time where Buddha descended from this particular heaven, or he ascended, descended, depending on what commentary or what text you're reading, to the Buddha called Trayastrimsa, or Trayastrimsha, more accurately, is the name of the Buddha realm, or the heaven realm. It's called the land of the 33, meaning the 33 devas who exist there mythologically. And it's primarily the name of the second of the 6 heavens of the desire realm in Buddhist cosmology. In any case, this heaven has a special connotation because it's where the Buddha ascended before he died in order to give teachings to his mother, Mahamaya, who was a goddess. In some teachings say not in this particular heaven realm, but he invited her into this heaven realm. So she came when she got the invitation, and he gave her Dharma teachings. So I'd like to talk a little bit about Mahamaya, who she is, and then this moment of when the Buddha ascended to this Buddha, this heaven realm, to teach his mother, and why he did that. It's very interesting. And, it would be kind of incomplete to gloss over the fact that many of these accounts that we find in the sutras are very androcentric, which means male-centered, right? So from the male gaze, from the male narrative. And it's hard to really know for sure what really happened and what didn't happen. I mean, that's true for a lot of these ancient teachings that come out of countries and places like India. Buddhism is not immune to this kind of sense of uncertainty. But what we do have is textual evidence, and we can go and base our practice off of that. But many of these sutras, and I just want to state that they are most often based on the words of the Buddha. That's at least the emic perspective, the internal perspective of the practice lineages, versus the etic perspective, which is the external, more historical, archaeological perspective. It's more Western, so we have to be humble when we get into the etic, but etic does have its place. From an emic perspective, the Buddha did teach what's found in the sutras. But at the same time, from an etic perspective, what seems to be clear is that over the centuries, when his teachings got written down, they were written down by humans, people, almost always, if not always, monastics, monks, male monastics, who may have edited or elaborated on certain core teachings. And in my research, what I found is that often these sutras contain kind of misogynistic ways of talking about women that most likely were not said by the Buddha himself. So I think it's comforting to know that. It's comforting for me. I definitely want to believe that. And it's reasonable as well. And so we see this androcentrism or misogyny playing out also, unfortunately, in this story of the Buddha ascending to the heaven, and then what happens when he's there. Some texts say that Mahamaya, his mother, in heaven turns into a god, goes from a goddess to a god, and then attains liberation. And that's a very common theme in these texts, these early sutras that say that women need to have a gender change before they can achieve liberation. They need to be in a man's body or a god's body before they achieve liberation. The Buddha never said that, by the way. But the story I'd like to focus on is a bit more positive for the female gender. Okay, so that's my little preamble, right? That's my preamble. So going to Mahamaya's life, she was the queen of the Sakya or Shakya clan. Suddhodana was her husband, the Buddha's father. and her name was Mahamaya, or sometimes just Maya. Maya literally means illusion, illusory, and it can be a positive or a negative connotation, but it's a common name. And in this sense, Maya can also be the play of reality, the play of Shakti. So it's positive in this case when we name somebody named Maya. And Maha means great. So the great illusion, the great play of Shakti, the great mother, Mahamaya. She had many auspicious dreams of the Buddha when she became pregnant with him. I think those go without saying. Those are popular stories. And what is also very commonly articulated across the board in many sutras is that she did die 7 days after the Buddha was born miraculously. You know, some stories say that he was born from her hip, which is interesting, not very realistic. And also, like, what's the problem with the normal way? But so that's an example of this kind of mythologizing of the reality of what it is to be a woman and to be a mother and to birth a child. So we already see this androcentric kind of cleaning up or tidying up of the historical narrative. But in any case, it's pretty clear that it's believed that she died of complications due to childbirth, which happened a lot and still happens to this day, unfortunately. So 7 days after Gautama, or Siddhartha Gautama, which was his given birth name, was born, Mahamaya died of childbirth complications. And immediately after her passing, her sister, Mahaprajapati, took him to her breast and raised him as her own child. She married the king, and she raised Siddhartha as her own child. And so he never really knew his mother. So there are certain stories throughout the sutras where she pops into his life from time to time as a goddess in a heaven realm to help him, to cheer him on. Often there are some stories saying, you know, she was up there cheering him on or praying for him when he was so emaciated and near death, when he was kind of in the depth of his austerity practices. So she appears in various narratives throughout his life, but for the most part, he didn't really know his mother. And Lama Tsultrim often talks about that, like, what is the wound there? What is the mother wound? Why is there such an absence of the feminine in his life for so long? You know, he was married, he had a child, Rahula, but then he left, he left and turned away for novel reasons, of course, but, that's also problematic in terms of leaving that life for the austere monastic life. We have to acknowledge that that's not a perfect scenario. Even in Indian culture, they say that you first have to do your dharma. If you have a family, stay with the family, especially talking to those men out there. Women have less of a choice, although some women do leave their children. But in Indian culture, they say, fulfill your dharma of staying with your child, raising your child, and then you can pursue the spiritual life when you're older, like in retirement. That's kind of the standard approach to life. So the Buddha went against that grain. He did not do that. And, we're lucky he didn't. So it's not black or white. But in any sense, where was the mother? Mahaprajapati was a wonderful mother, and she became his first female student. She became a nun. That was his stepmother. And Wendy Garling says that actually Mahaprajapati and Mahamaya, they were co-mothers. It wasn't just that she was a stepmother, that she really interprets both of them as equally important in the Buddha's life. And I like that. I appreciate that. Just so you know, Wendy Garling is a source for a lot of my teachings today. She wrote a wonderful book called Stars at Dawn, where she unearthed a lot of hidden stories or forgotten stories about the women in Buddha's life, Shakyamuni's life, before and after his liberation. So I highly recommend that book. And then she's just come out with a new book, and I don't remember the name of it, but you could, I think she focuses more on Mahamaya in her new book. So she's worth checking out. Wendy Garling, Garling. And I don't know if it's been translated into other languages yet, apart from English. In any case, let's come to this day of Lha Bab Düchen, this day that the Buddha taught his mother and then descended from the heaven realm back to earth. Stories say that he actually went up via Shravasti, up this. This story is so vivid. It's so cool. The image is that when he decided to ascend up to this heaven to see his mother and to teach her before he died, because he could see that his parinirvana was close at hand. And he knew that she was not liberated yet, hadn't achieved full liberation. She was in heaven as a god, but not fully released from the cycle of samsara. So his intention was to go up there, make a connection, and teach her and give her the gift of the Dharma, which is considered to be the greatest gift that children can give their parents. If they're not already Buddhists, somehow give them refuge, give them teachings, and if you can, turn them towards the Dharma. So that's an interesting element here. And so he decided to go up to the heaven, the 33. And when he started his travels, it said that the mountains leading up to the heaven bent down so he could step on them. And then the next mountain bent down so he could take the next step, creating the stairway to heaven, so to speak. And when he got there, it said he was greeted by a god named Manjushri. And don't conflate this with the Bodhisattva Manjushri of wisdom and learning. This is a different character. And he said, "How can I help you? Why are you here, Buddha?" And Buddha said, "Well, I'm here to find my mother and to give her teachings on the Dharma. Where is she?" And so Manjushri found out, called her, she decided to come. Oh, but here's the interesting story that's different than the mainstream stories about this moment. This is from this Mahamaya Sutra that Wendy Garling cites quite a bit. It's a lesser known sutra. It was originally composed in Sanskrit and translated into Chinese and preserved in Chinese. As far as we know, it's not in other languages, and I'm not sure it's been translated completely into English yet. There are portions of it I've heard, but not completely translated. Okay, so this Mahamaya Sutra tells this really unique version of the story of this moment when the Buddha arrives in heaven. He sits down on what is called his Bodhi Manda, like he had under the Bodhi tree, which is like his enlightened seat, his place, power place of awakening. So he sits down on the Bodhi Manda in this heaven realm, and he's meditating and reflecting on how much he misses his mother and how much he wants to see her face again. And that sincere wish that he had to offer her refuge, hoping that she would take refuge in the three jewels of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And so while he's meditating and having this emotion, this feeling of connecting with his mother, this person, Manjushri, overhears him and asks him, "What can I do for you?" And he says, "Well, my mother, Mahamaya, is in this, somewhere near this heaven realm or in this heaven realm, and I want to find her. I wanted to give her teachings." And so immediately, Manjushri goes to find her and tells her this. And when she hears this, immediately her breasts start to flow with milk. And this apparently is a common trope in some of these cosmological, mythological stories of a reunion with from a mother and her child. And anyone who's had children and breastfed knows that even when you hear your baby crying, you have the letdown reflex. The milk starts to flow. I'll never forget with my first child, who's named Dara. She was a young baby, and she was sleeping in one room, and I was in the other room. I swear to God, I might have been meditating or reading. I was in a quiet, contemplative space. And I swear to God, my breast milk started to let down. And then a moment later, she starts to cry. And I thought, oh my God, the web of connection between a mother and her baby is unseen. It's so deep. And so when I heard this part of the story, it reminded me of that story of mine. So her milk started to flow, just as a nursing mother's milk begins to flow when she hears her baby cry. And she said, so if Siddhartha is really my son, if this person is really my son, my milk will reach his mouth from afar. What a great image. My milk will reach his mouth from afar. And lo and behold, it does. And he drinks the milk. He drinks the milk. And then she comes to him and they are reunited. And she shows reverence to him right away. She recognizes him as her son. And then he teaches her. He teaches her, the texts say, general teachings like on impermanence and non-self. And then what's interesting and unique about this Mahamaya Sutra, different from the other sutras that tell this story, is that after she receives his teachings, she has realization. And then she starts to give teachings to the gods and goddesses in the realm. And Buddha is witnessing her, so he's authenticating her teachings. It's quite exceptional. This is not something you read of very often. The idea is that she was so karmically ripe that she was ready to teach the Dharma. And the stories say that she had been working towards this like the Buddha did for lifetimes. And in fact, she had been his mother for countless lifetimes. And they'd both been working towards liberation through their relationship, through the birth and the motherhood and the child connection. So this is not a popular rendition, by the way, that the woman is teaching now. That's definitely not very common to see. So also there are gods and goddesses who come to the assembly. Also humans from the world are also in the assembly. They arrive, what's called from the fourfold assembly of lay women, men, monks, and nuns, but also nagas, supernatural beings, attend and listen to her teaching. And so that's quite exceptional. Then the other reason the Buddha came to the heaven is to connect with her because he knew that his death was close at hand. This is called his parinirvana, his great liberation, his great nirvana was coming soon. And so when he tells her this, she becomes very distraught. And again, we see this kind of connection, this emotional connection between mother and son, even though they're both realized or completely awakened beings. She becomes so distraught that she begins to weep. And experience that sadness of losing a son. So then eventually when this is complete, the Buddha returns to the earth through another magical staircase. And the imagery here is really cool. This is this moment when the heavens open up to allow him to descend. And it's a very palpable moment when the gods in the heavens and the humans, the beings on the earth, can see each other. So the humans look up, they see the God realm, and the gods look down, they see the human realm. And then the Buddha starts to descend this cosmic or magical staircase. In the center, he has a staircase of precious gems. In the Tibetan text, they say it's lapis lazuli gems. And then on the right side of him is a golden staircase. The left side is a silver staircase. And it's said that some of the gods also descend with him on the left and the right staircases. And then when he gets down, waiting for them is his king, is his father, the king, as well as the fourfold assembly of the monastics, male and female. And then another aspect of this is that that when he descends from the heaven of the 33 after teaching his mother and giving her the gift of the Dharma and witnessing her liberation and her maturation, after they say goodbye, he descends, right? So he comes down to earth, and it's said that there's a nun in the assembly named Utpalavarna, which is so interesting because Utpala is the lotus flower, often called the blue lotus, that like Tara holds in her left hand with the symbols atop every one of her flowers. It's the lotus flower, the blue lotus. But I'm suspecting that Varna is also the word for golden. I could be wrong. I need to look that up, but I'm pretty sure it's a golden lotus. So her name is Utpala Varna. And this nun is Utpala Varna, maybe the golden lotus. And she kind of, this is interesting, but the story goes that she magically turns her devotion is so strong, and she's so sad that she is pushed to the back like the nuns and the women often are in assemblies, right? And because her devotion is so strong, she transforms herself into a king, a Chakravartin, this universal monarch, and so she shifts her gender and takes on these 32 marks of this Chakravartin king. And this enables her to move to the front along with her entire assembly of nuns to get to the front. And she is the one who greets the Buddha when he descends from the heaven of the 33. This is corroborated in many sources, but it's also erased in the primary sources that people learn, the mainstream accounts of this story. But here you see the gender change requirement to become a king, to become a royal being and get to the front of the line. The woman has to transform into the man. Not that surprising. It happens a lot in these texts. And then another funny part of the story is actually that the Buddha, when he sees her as the king, scolds her because of her grasping onto being the first in line to see him. So that's an interesting thing to look at. Is like, is she getting too uppity? Also, unfortunately, a common theme in our androcentric global historical memory. So Wendy Garling points out that in the mainstream versions of these stories, they're very androcentric. There are really no women. And the women who probably were in the original stories, like these earlier sutras, like the Mahamaya Sutra, have just simply been erased. For example, in more of the common retelling of this story, there's the appearance of Shariputra, who's one of his primary students, the Buddha's primary students, who comes up to heaven when Buddha is taking, they say he's taking a lunch break because, apparently he's teaching the gods, and the gods can go centuries without eating food, but he's still a human who magically was able to go up to the heaven realm, and so he needs to have lunch. The Buddha had one meal a day, and that was lunch. So he's taking a lunch break, and Shariputra comes up during the lunch break, and he gives teachings to him to take back to the earth. So that's interesting. The main point here is that the more androcentric versions strip away women and replace them with men. This version where Mahamaya is the teacher is probably a very old version of the story. And she got replaced by Shariputra, who taught to these 4 domains of beings, instead of Mahamaya teaching to the gods in the 4 domains. Okay, but let's focus on the positive, right? Yes, we're celebrating the Buddha's descent from this heaven, but we're also celebrating his relationship with his mother and how she's really the first mother of the Buddhas, right? She gave birth to Buddha Shakyamuni, Siddhartha Gautama, thus kind of ushered in this age of liberation that Dharma has brought, and therefore without the mother, Mahamaya, we would not have the Buddha. And in general, broadly, we wouldn't have Buddhas, right? So mothers are very important. We should honor them, feel gratitude, even if they aren't perfect, even if they may have harmed us or broke our hearts. They did give us life. And it's important to find some place in us that can feel some degree of gratitude for our mothers and our fathers. So this story underscores the beautiful relationship between Buddha Shakyamuni and his mother Maya. She gave him life within the samsaric domain. So she gave him this life and samsaric love that a mother gives. She gives him the milk of the mother, and in return, he gives her the milk of the Dharma. In return, he gives her the milk of the Dharma. So this is a really beautiful theme that not only do we see with Mahamaya, but we also see in some stories around Mahaprajapati, his other mother, who also nursed him. And she often will say, I gave you milk, and you gave me the milk of the Dharma. So we see this theme echoed also in her relationship with Buddha Shakyamuni. Okay. There's another story. This is a quick story that I thought it'd be nice to add in there. So I'll just try to make this quick. This is really her mother Maya's or Mahamaya's last meeting with her son. So keep in mind, in terms of the time frame, the Buddha went up there, gave teachings to her. She had realization. He warned her that he was going to die soon, right? So he did his duty. That was good. Then years later, when it comes time for his passing, there is a version of the story where she sees him, and she is the last person to pay homage to the Buddha's body prior to his cremation. Traditionally, we're told that the last person to pay homage to the Buddha's body was his disciple Mahakasyapa, and that at that time with Mahakasyapa, the Buddha's feet spontaneously emerged from beneath the shroud so that his disciple could venerate him. However, there's another version of the story that says that Mahamaya was the last person to receive the Buddha's earthly blessing. And again, this is found in the Mahamaya Sutra. And it's also corroborated by the 7th century Chinese pilgrim, Zhuangzhang, who wrote a lot of historical accounts and historical accounts of his travels in India during that time, 7th century India. And he noted in his chronicles that there was a stupa in Kushinagar near the cremation site commemorating Maya's final visit to her son. So there's definitely validation there for that. So the story goes that word reaches Maya in heaven that her son has died, and arriving swiftly at the coffin, she faints from emotion. Revived, she mournfully touches his robe, his bowl, and staff lying nearby. And at that moment, the coffin's lid miraculously opens, and the Buddha sits up. Brilliant light rays burst forth in all directions. And reunited for the last time, the Buddha praises Mahamaya as a woman and as a mother and comforts her with his final teaching. He says, "I beg you not to cry, as all these events conform to the Dharma." I beg you not to cry, as all these events conform to the Dharma, to truth, to the teachings on impermanence, and so on. So these stories show that Mahamaya's love for her son bookends his life, right? She birthed him, and then she was the last to say goodbye to him. And even though these are mythic or symbolic stories, these, like others, tell us more about the Buddha's connection with his birth mother throughout the span of his life. So learning about Mahamaya's enduring love for her son, it illuminates and celebrates the feminine in these forgotten stories. And by doing this, we unravel the misogynistic knots from Buddhism's past and show that there are new narratives based on textual evidence that can give us a fresh perspective on this beautiful tradition. So on this day of Lha Bab Düchen, we're celebrating the love of mother and son and celebrate gratitude and how important that is in our lives. So I really want to end with this spirit of gratitude, of especially gratitude towards our parents who gave us life. And if you know your mother, if you were close to your mother, really feel that warmth and that gratitude for her. But even if you didn't know your birth mother, you can always, of course, feel the same type of gratitude for the other mothers, right? The other women, or maybe women in our lives, but also people who acted as mothers, as if they were mothers for us, who nurtured us, who loved us unconditionally. And in that vein, I'd like to just really tease out this idea of unconditional love that is so linked to the mother love and this love between Buddha and Mahamaya, but also our experience, perhaps, hopefully, of the mother love is unconditional love. You know, for me, unconditional love is always there. It's a love that's always there no matter what we do or don't do, who we are. It doesn't have holes in it. It doesn't have gaps. And so as we chant this mantra to Shakyamuni, I'd like you to steep in that love, that unconditional love that is articulated through the story between mother and son, but also the love that connects us, all of us together, this web of love, network, the Indra's net of the lucid jewels of love that reflect within each and every one of them, the infinite jewels and this cosmic kind of psychedelic expansion of the potential of love as a warm blanket, as a warm embrace of the Great Mother, but also as we develop the capacity to give that love to ourselves. So that's the personal theme I'd like to bring in and encourage you to feel into as you chant this mantra, which very much honors Buddha Shakyamuni. And through honoring Buddha Shakyamuni, we're honoring his mother, Mahamaya, his other mother, Mahapajapati, and all the mothers throughout the world. Least of all, the mother who birthed the 8th billionth person on this very day, Lha Bab Düchen. Okay, here's the mantra. I'm assuming that the team is showing it now. Maybe you can pop it up there on the screen. It is a classic mantra for Buddha Shakyamuni. It goes, are you there? Is it happening? Maybe I'll wait till you show it. The tile for the Buddha's mantra. We can take some breaths. Oh, you are showing it? Why do I only see me? Sorry. Okay, you're seeing it. I'm not, but that's okay. Maybe my screen needs to be bigger. Oh, there it is. Now I see. Okay, thank you. Okay, the mantra is Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Shakyamuni Ye Svaha. So Om is the universal sound of consciousness. Muni Muni is the sage, the wise man. Mahamuni, the great sage. Shakyamuni, the sage of the Shakya clan, that's his name. Ye is to, like I pray to him. Svaha, so be it. Om Muni Muni, Mahamuni, Shakyamuni, Ye Svaha. So Om, I pay homage to the sage, the great sage, the Shakya sage, so be it. And this melody was taught to me by Lama Tsultrim. We'll do some repetitions now. Take some deep breaths, enter into a meditative mode. Relax and open your heart to this powerful day. Our merit increased 1,000,000-fold. So if we do 100 mantras, 108, then it's 108 million. So enjoying that exponential power portal of this holy day. Beings practicing all around the world. Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Shakyamuni Svaha. 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 Keep reciting the mantra, and you can also visualize, if you feel connected to the image of Shakyamuni, golden in color, seated in lotus on a throne, radiating light in all directions, in the space above and slightly in front of you, a body of light, emanating light to all beings everywhere, in all directions, bringing liberation and freedom from suffering. Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Shakyamuni Svaha. Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Shakyamuni Svaha. Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Shakyamuni Svaha. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni 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 Shakyamuni Svaha.
Prayer requests. For Krista MacDonald, Whitby Island. November 15th is the first day of her first solo retreat. May all beings benefit, especially all mother beings. Stephanie Jaworowicz, that the world Sangha attain enlightenment, the potential of their name, attain the light body, and receive the numerous blessings of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Brad Lee Stoller, New York. Prayers for successful surgery. We dedicate the light of these lamps to all beings in all Bardo realms. May all beings be liberated by the light of compassion. Prayers for world's peace and equanimity. Prayers for Linda Haupt, who is ill in the hospital in Seattle, Washington. Cynthia Rubenstein. May our hearts stay open and healthy. Els van der Heijden, for world peace. May all who feel lonely and long for love be loved in the best way. May Geshe Tupten Sopa be reborn in Sukhavati, attain enlightenment and become a bodhisattva. Michelle Sapanaro, prayers for Joe in Greenville, South Carolina, sending love, support, and stability on your journey. Marcella Smithson, Maria Walton, so shines a good deed in a weary world, Willy Wonka. Betta Keeble, praying for my children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren to be on their path with protection, love, and guidance, peace, love, and light. Amy Turner, Naomi Weisler, dedicated to John, Joe Gagan, Aaron, Kara, Tom, Jack, Margaret Joe Gagan. Assie Moore, also to my late grandparents, Rosa and Harold Gilbert, and Isle and Fritz Weisler. Patricia und Uwe Herzog, prayers of peace and love to all sentient beings in all the realms, prayers of healing to cease all the suffering, and prayers of joy and gratitude so we can dance in eternity. Thank you.
Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. 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 Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Mahashakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Mahashakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni 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 Swaha. So now to conclude our time, we'll chant a beautiful prayer of dedication in the Tibetan language, and Bodhi will offer the tile, and then we'll do Lama Tsultrim's long life prayer. You can follow along and just listen, or you can recite it. Oh, right. The PDF link for download only. I forgot. You told me that. Okay, so I'll just say it. I don't know if the one I have memorized is the exact same as the one you have on the PDF. Where was that PDF? Can you repost the PDF just as another, maybe other people didn't see it either. Thank you. Okay, good. Okay. So if you want to pull it up, you can pull it up. It came up quite easily for me if you just click on the link there that Bodhi provided somewhere in the chat. And we'll bring our hands together in prayer. And if you would rather just follow along and have an internal prayer of dedication, that's fine too. This is a common one that we do at Taramandala and is common throughout many of the schools of Tibetan Buddhism. We'll do it once in Tibetan and once in English. Sonam di tamche sikpanye tovne nyepe janam pamche shing kegana chiva lav drupayi sitpe tsole drowa harisho. Jampel pawo jitar genpa dang kuntu zangpo de yang de shinde de da kungi jesu da glob ching Gewa di da tamche rabdungo. In English, by this merit may all attain omniscience. May it defeat the enemy wrongdoing. From the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of samsara, may I free all beings. the courageous Manjushri, who knows everything as it is, and Samantabhadra, who also knows in the same way, that I may follow in their path, I completely dedicate all this virtue. And now we'll sing Lama Tsultrim's Long Life Prayer with a melody. Follow along or read. I'll do Tibetan first and then English. Om Swasti Machik Lav Ki Drimé Yesheku Jezung Kate Judyu Tzutzin Jetsun Lama Tsultrim Chudran Chok Kutse Tak Denze Trin Ge Gyurjik. Nurtured by the wisdom body of Machik Labdran, holder of the treasury of Chud from the canon and treasures, supremely noble Lama Tsultrim Chudran, Dharma torch of discipline, may your life remain firm and your awakened activities spread and flourish. This was prayed fervently by the 6th Gochen Tolku Sangha Rinpoche, a mere name holder of the incarnation of Orge Drimé Lingpa. May it be accomplished like I have aspired. That's his colophon. Thank you, everybody. With that, we dedicate and we say adieu, au revoir, till we meet again. Our Global Sangha, the new and old, if you were new and you experienced our practice community for the first time, heartfelt, warm, unconditional loving embrace of welcome and enthusiasm. And for all of the seasoned oldies but goodies, Sangha members, big love to all of you. May you enjoy the rest of your Lha Bab Düchen and be well and healthy. May all beings have happiness in the causes of happiness and be free from suffering in the causes of suffering. Alalaho. Thank you, thank you. I wish I could see you, but I'm seeing you in my mind's eye. Thank you. It was a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you, Drimé. Thank you, Bodhi. Thank you at all. Tara Mandala, big love to you, Tara Mandala community, and all around the world. Ciao.
Thank you so much, Lopon Chandra, that we could celebrate this sacred day of the year together this beautiful way. Thank you so much. And thank you, dear community. Your presence here in honor of this special occasion matters so much. And for this, we truly bow to you all. I would like to encourage you to join our live stream meetings with Lama Tsultrim Allione and other guest teachers on Lama Life live stream event, where we gather as a community for meditation and teachings. This event can be viewed on the Lama Tsultrim Allione Facebook page, Tara Mandala Facebook page, or the Tara Mandala YouTube channel. It's open to all and free to attend. And this coming Sunday, November 20th, we will have Lama Tsultrim Allione and special guest, Dr. Elisa Eppel, who is an international expert on stress, well-being, and optimal aging, and a best-selling author of the telomere effect, and now the stress prescription. She's a professor in the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences at the University of California, San Francisco. So you're invited to join us on Sunday. And there is also a wonderful opportunity to receive a lung, so oral transmission, directly from Lama Tsultrim Allione on November 19th. In the Tibetan tradition, it's understood that during the lung, the student received a direct transmission of the practice, which connects them to the blessing stream of the lineage, from the teacher giving the lung to her teacher and his teacher, all the way back to the original source of the practice. We currently offer the lung for our Green Tara, Chögyal Namkhai Norbu Rinpoche Chöd, Riwo Sangcho, and Shitro. Tara Mandala offers self-paced online courses that include explanation and teachings on these practices, and after receiving the lung, you are authorized to participate in any of these programs. But also, Lama will be offering the following edition at the upcoming Lung, Ayo Khandro's Mind Terma of Simamukha, the Lion-Headed Dakini, which is a very rare opportunity to receive it. And just so you know, Lung can only be received live, online, and online this time, and it's not recorded, and you need to register in order to participate. There are also many opportunities to connect in learning and practice through online programs being offered by Tara Mandala, which you can explore on our website. And also joining our mailing list is truly the best way to stay informed about our upcoming offerings. At the link in the chat, you will also find links to our global sanghas. If you haven't connected to any of them yet, we highly encourage you to do so. Remember, you can engage in online group practices offered by these sanghas no matter where you are located in the world. And lastly, please remember that we have a dedicated space to connect called the Tara Mandala Community Network, which is a place unlike any other, we believe so. If genuine connection with the members of our Sangha is of interest and need to you, you are welcome to come and join us there. It's important to recognize and appreciate how unique this opportunity truly has been to come together in this virtual way to be with each other today. May your practice and commitments remain firm and your heart of compassion radiant. May we meet again and again on the path, and may all beings benefit everywhere. Thank you.